Vine groaned in her sleep when she didn't feel the needed warmth beside her. Her hand extended to pat the space beside. A frown formed on her forehead when she felt the empty, cold mattress. She slowly opened her eyes and lifted her head. Roaming her drowsy gaze around the room, she desperately sought for the sight of her husband, who was nowhere in the sight. Straightening up on the bed, she rubbed her eyes to remove the sleepiness. Moonlight reflected inside the room through the white curtains, casted a soft glow in the room, highlighting its goods. The soft whispers of air converged with the tick-tack of wall clock amidst the serene silence of the night. She glanced at the wall clock. Its minute hand pointed at 12, and hour hand pointed at 2, making a perfect 60-degree angle. Jimin, she called out, sobering up from sleep. Getting no response in return, she kicked off the blanket and rose from the bed. She was about to knock on the bathroom door, but halted, noticing the absence of his laptop and office bag. This man will never change, she murmured to herself, shaking her head in helplessness. With a renewed resolution to give him a piece of her mind, she stepped out of the room. In the dimly lit living room, Jimin sat on the couch with his laptop on his lap, sketches and blueprints scattered around, perks of being an architect. His eyes focused on the laptop screen. Round reading glasses rested on his nose. His hair was messy, so was his crinkled t-shirt that he was wearing for years and couldn't let go, despite having millions of holes in it. It's comfortable, Wine. That's what he says whenever Wine asks him to discard the rag-like t-shirt. Smitten by the sight, Vine walked towards him, an adorable smile curved on her lips. He flinched when she snatched the laptop from him and carelessly threw it on the other side of the couch. Vine, what? His words halted when she swiftly climbed on his lap. Her hands dangled down on one side, and she rested her head on his chest where his heart was beating. He looked down at her and smiled. His hands snaked around her waist and pulled her more into him. What happened? Couldn't sleep? He asked, planting a few kisses on her hair. A sigh escaped her lips as she nuzzled her face in the warmth of his chest. I was sleeping but woke up feeling your absence. And what are you doing here? She lifted her head looking up at him. Resting her chin on his chest, she squinted her eyes at him. Didn't I tell you to sleep? You had been working like a busy bee. You need rest, she whispered, her lips puckered into a pout involuntarily. He chuckled and pecked her nose. You know I can't. The deadline is looming and I need to finish this project. Her lips puckered even more due to his reply. She rested her head on his chest and wrapped her arms around his torso. You haven't been spending time with me, and I, being a considerate wife, isn't bothering you much. All I want is to sleep cuddling with you. Come on, let's just sleep. Complete it tomorrow. She whined and nestled in his embrace. Jimin sighed and planted a kiss on her temple. You sleep. I'll join you after some time. Before she could let another word out to protest, he picked her off his lap and put her down beside him. She gaped at him with disbelief when he picked his laptop and again settled it on his lap. Her insides set on fire as she gazed at the device with a tinge of jealousy. She glared at the laptop, and it seemed to enjoy her state by mocking her that, see, he is willingly cradling me after putting you aside as a side piece. How lucky she is and how unlucky I am. This piece of metal, no living thing gets to sit on your lap, but I, even after being your officially legally wedded wife, is sitting here like a side character, witnessing the romance between my husband and this metallic mistress. She scolded at him. The frown in her face intensified when a loud laughter resonated from his chest. You're so dramatic. Maybe you need some rest. Go and sleep. I'll join you shortly after, I promise. He pinched her cheeks, finding her reaction adorable. She huffed and crossed her arms on her chest. Fine. If you want to work, I'll sit here along with you. Let me make strong coffee for both of us. Hey, no, don't trouble yourself. You need to sleep, sweetheart. He held her wrist when she took a step away from him. She looked down at him and gave a tight lipped smile. So do you. But when you can be stubborn, I can as well. I'm going to make coffee for both of us. She raised her wrist out of his grip and thrust towards the kitchen. Jimin looked at her, retreating back, and shook his head due to her stubbornness. Aware of his wife's adamant nature of getting what she wanted, he didn't bother to think about it more and indulged himself in completing the project. Here you go. Handing a cup of freshly brewed steaming coffee to him, she settled beside him, holding her own cup in her hand. Jimin glanced at her, his fingers halting for a moment. You never listen. Learn it from you, she retorted back, blowing air on the coffee before taking a sip on it. She closed her eyes in ecstasy. The taste of coffee melted in her mouth. Oh, really? You are a quick learner? Of course, I'm a quick and dedicated learner. She shrugged her shoulder nonchalantly. Crossing her legs on the couch, she sat in lotus position and enjoyed her midnight coffee. Jimin savored his own coffee, enjoying the adequate amount of bitterness and sweetness that blasted in his taste buds. Sure, sure, he said and leaned towards her. Placing a long, wet kiss on her cheek, he made a loud kissing sound, turning playful all of the sudden. Vance crushed her nose and wiped her cheek where the wet beads of his saliva resided. Don't you have work to do now? You have a deadline, remember? She mocked, stressing on each word. Yeah, right. Thanks for reminding me. She scoffed in disbelief when he turned his head away and focused back on the laptop screen. Unbelievable. She muttered under her breath and glared at his side profile. He, though well aware of her gaze on him, ignored it royally and continued his work. As much as he wasn't liking her tiring herself unnecessarily, he knew her stubborn self knew no boundaries. She would do what she wanted to do, and he couldn't ignore the work and sleep when he had his work reputation at stake. Analyzing there was no other solution, they both did what they wanted. Few minutes turned into half hour. Jimin was indulged in work, momentarily glancing towards Wyan. Meanwhile, Wyan was trying her best to keep her eyes open. The constant yawns insinuated her weary state. How long will you take? Let's sleep. She murmured lazily and placed her head on his shoulder. I will take time. Till then, let's get you to the bed. As he tried to move, she held his shoulder and shook her head. No, I'll sit beside you until you will be done. She wrapped her hands around his arm, making herself comfortable against his shoulder. Jimin sighed helplessly and focused on his work. Few minutes later, he felt her limp body against his. Her breathing turned slow and even, an indirect indication of a sleeping state. He craned his neck and peeked at her. A smile made its way to his lips when her peaceful sleeping face came in his line of vision. Putting every other thing aside, he cradled her in his arms and rose from the couch. She murmured something in her sleep and nuzzled her face in his chest. Smiling at the alluring sight, he strolled towards the shared bedroom to put her on bed. He laid her down on the bed and pulled the comforter over her. Sitting on the edge beside her, he tucked the loose tresses behind her ear and stroked her cheek. Leaning down to her face level, he planted a kiss on her forehead. Sleep tight, my grumpy woman, he murmured and pushed himself off the bed. Glancing at her for the last time, he exited the room to complete his pending work. Vine stirred awake from her sleep. She looked around, still in daze. Sunlight reflected through the window, casting an orangish golden glow through the room. Vine's gaze shifted beside her. An exasperated sigh escaped her lips when she found the bed empty. I'm going to knock some sentences in this man, she murmured and about to get off the bed, but a neon colored note caught her attention. She picked it up and opened it. Good morning, my sleeping beauty. Get ready for work and have your breakfast before leaving. And please don't be angry. I need to finish the project on time. I promise I'll spend every moment with you after that. She pursed her lips in annoyance and put the note down. He has the most beautiful, hottest wife. Still, all you do is work, work, and work. How unromantic, she muttered and stood in front of the mirror. She looked at her reflection, her tangled and messy hair, which was looking nothing less than a bird's nest, swollen eyes, stains of drool on her face, her disheveled night suit. She was looking nowhere near the models which we see on screen, but this was the reality, not an illusion. I am beautiful and charming because I am beautiful in my eyes, and my husband likes me as I am, she said and blew a kiss at her reflection. The high standards of beauty mass media had created is not the definition of beauty. It is an illusion which keeps women in delusion that they could get an ideal body by altering what they have already got by birth. Beauty lies in the eyes of beholder. Let's see how will you escape from Vian's charm. Vian smirked, arranging the dinner on the dining table. She looked around the preparation and nodded in contentment. The whole living room was decorated with rose petals and scented candles. The apartment filled with the aroma of fresh flowers, along with the smell of sizzling homemade dinner. Vine wore a red dress which highlighted the contour of her body with no makeup. Even the dress was uncomfortable for her because she was used to very baggy pajamas after coming home, but anything for her husband. Now she couldn't wait to see Jimin's reaction. As Jimin thought stuck her head, she heard his footsteps approaching towards the dining area. While he called out, mesmerized yet surprised by the decoration. Amidst the eye-catching decor, his eyes stuck at his wife, who stood in her glory, flaunting her toothy smile. His breath hissed when he looked at her from head to toe. Gorgeous. This word escaped his lips without him knowing. Blood rushed to Vine's cheeks as she flushed and looked down in shyness. Is there something I forgot? I'm sorry, but I can't remember anything. Oh, yes, you forgot an important thing. Why said feigning sadness, his face pale in guilt, and he stepped towards her, all set to apologize. I'm sorry. What can I do to make it up to you, and what is it today? I really don't remember. You forgot you have a beautiful wife at home who is deprived of love because all of your attention and love is going to your metallic mistress. She huffed in annoyance and looked away. He sighed in relief and stepped closer to her, embracing her in his arms. I didn't forget you. I'm just busy. Still, I'm sorry if you feel like it. She hummed and tightened her grip on him, relishing the moment of closeness. Let's eat. I'm hungry and I bet you are too. She grinned and tugged at his wrist, guiding him towards the dining table. The plan of seducing him took a back seat as the thought of food crossed her mind. She was really hungry and she could show her charm after eating, right? Vine scolded when she saw him working on the laptop. During the dinner, she forgot she had to look sexy and indulged herself in savoring the dinner. After the dinner, she washed the dishes while Jimin came in the room after cleaning the table. What if the plan A failed? I have a black backup plan ready. Ain't no way I'm letting him go without tiring him. She smirked and disappeared inside the closet to execute plan B. After some time, she came out wearing a revealing black nightie which reached at her upper thighs, along with its matching overcoat which reached below her knees. She sucked a deep breath to curved in her protruding belly and stood in a sexy position. She cleared her throat to gain his attention, but much to her dismay, his eyes kept fixated on the laptop screen. She cleared her throat again and again to gain his attention but got no response. Told you not to eat ice cream. Have warm turmeric milk. Your throat will be fine till morning, he said without looking at her. Her jaw dropped hearing his response. She gritted her teeth and removed her overcoat before throwing it at his face. What the hell? Why and what? His words disappeared in air as he looked up at the mesmerizing sight in front of him. Wine smirked and swayed side to side, flexing her body. What are you trying to do? He said after sobering up from the erotic side. His mind clouded with unholy thoughts as he felt the tightness in his lower abdomen. I'm trying to show what you are missing, Mr. Park. She whispered seductively and nibbled at her lower lip. She walked towards him, swaying her hips. He put the laptop aside, hypnotized by her charm. However, the intimate moment didn't last longer when Vine stumbled on her steps and fell flat on the bed, her hair going everywhere on the bed. Despite upteam's attempts, Jimin couldn't control and burst into laughter. Vine groaned and banged her hands on the mattress. She removed the hair from her face and looked at him. Can you stop laughing? I was trying to be sexy, but you ruined the moment. She very easily and skillfully put the blame on Jimin. Jimin rubbed his chest and stifled his laughter with much difficulty. You don't have to pull these stunts to look sexy. You breathe, and I'm dead the next second. Your presence is seductive. Your everything is seductive for me. Understand my little temptress? He said as he pulled her on his lap. She pouted in embarrassment and hid her face in his chest. You didn't leave me any other choice. I was deprived and thought to earn some. You don't have to earn anything. I am all yours. Everything which is mine is yours. He said, looking down at her. She lifted her face. The corner of her lips tucked upward in a smirk. Really? He nodded with a smile. She leaned towards his lips, stopping when the lips were a whisper away. How about we make tonight unforgettable? Let go of the work stress, Jimin. It's just you and me now. She whispered and slapped her lips on his. Her hands slid towards his nape and tugged at his hair, knowing it turns him on every time. She smiled when he groaned in her mouth and pulled her closer till there wasn't a room for air to escape. Their bodies mingled together like two puzzle pieces as they devoured their lips like two hungry lions. One gasped in the kiss when she heard a tearing sound and her nightie joined her overcoat on the floor. When Vine's lungs swelled due to lack of air, she tapped on Jimin's shoulder. He left her lips reluctantly. You are the queen of my kingdom, and whatever you demand, you get. He panted against her lips and pinned her down on the mattress the next second. Wrong. You are the king in my queendom, and whatever I say, you are obliged to follow it. She retorted back, tugging at his rag like t shirt. With a swift motion, she peeled it off his body and it joins Vine's clothes on the floor. One by one, all the layers which created hurdle in their connection joined the piles of the clothes on the floor. Yes, my queen, I will do whatever you say, but for now, you are at my mercy. He smirked and grunted when their warm skin came in contact. They stared at each other and smiled. Love you. In the moonlit embrace, whispers of passion danced through the air, intertwining with the delicate sighs of lovers lost in the symphony of desire. Bodies, like poetry in motion, explored the canvas of each other, tracing the lines of intimacy with a rhythmic dance that echoed the beats of their entwined hearts. The room, a century of shared vulnerability, witnessed the tender choreography of two souls surrendering to the timeless melody of love. After some hours of exploring and showing love, they lay beside each other, basked in the afterglow of their love. Jimmy brought their intertwined hands to his lips and placed a tender kiss on them. Don't ever say I forget you. I can forget myself, but I can never forget you. My heart beat and sank with your breathing. I breathe with the symphony of your heartbeat. Your smile is my savior and destroyer at the same time. You don't know how beautiful you are until you see through my vision. I know, I can see the reflection in your eyes. This makes me feel special and extraordinary. This makes me think that I am the luckiest woman in the whole universe because I have you. You are the best, and I am grateful that I am a part of your life. Nope, as cliche as it sounds, but you are not a part of my life. You are my life. His words, his appreciation, and his sincerity never failed to flatter her heart, but this time it touched her soul in raw, and unleashed foam. Overwhelmed with glee, her eyes welled up with tears. Hey, don't start crying. This is the only time you look ugly, he playfully said. She whined and smacked his chest. You ruined the moment. He chuckled and embraced her. She sighed and placed her head on his bare chest. I didn't ruin anything. I just saved my wife's precious tears. Hey, those were the tears of happiness. If you are happy, then smile or laugh. Pull my hair out of happiness, but don't ever cry, okay? And for now, sleep if you don't want to go for another round. As tempting as it sounds, I'm already sore and don't want you carrying me everywhere. She lifted her gaze to meet his teasing eyes. I'll just sleep. He chuckled when she hastily closed her eyes and snuggled into him. He stroked her head, providing a helping hand to lull her to sleep. At the wee hours of the night, Vian's eyes shot open, feeling the absence of her husband's warmth. She looked beside to find him working on his laptop. The blanket was covering him till his lower abdomen, his abs on full display, as he proudly flexed the red purplish marks of his wife's love for him. Frustrated by the sight, she sat up, clutching the blanket on her chest, and smacked his shoulder. He flinched at the sudden attack and peered at her with perplexity. Seriously, after the intimacy we shared few hours ago, you are again back on romancing with your meddling mistress? She chided and raised her head to smack him again, but before she could do so, Jimin held her hand and yanked her towards himself. She collided with his chest. Her grip on the blanket loosened and it slid down to her lap. I thought I'll keep it a surprise, but I think I have to tell you now. She frowned in confusion, unbothered about their bare chest in contact. Remember during the initial day of our marriage, I cancelled our honeymoon. Yes, I remember. You were busy in establishing your work. We were struggling financially and we both agreed on cancelling our honeymoon. You don't have to feel bad about it. I told you it doesn't matter. She was cut off when he put his finger on her lips. For God's sakes, let me speak. So, okay, we cancelled our honeymoon. It's been 8 months and we both are stable at our work. I'm earning handsomely, so are you. I will earn a lot more through this project. After the submission, which is today, I will take you to a honeymoon. Vian's eyes widened with pure delight. I have planned everything. I have finalized the location, booked the tickets, arranged our stay. We will be leaving after 2 days. Also, I had asked for your leaves, so no worries, no stress, just us. He smiled. She squealed and hugged him tightly. I can't wait to explore the vacation spot. Some other time, dear wife. This time we will be exploring each other. I won't let you out of the hotel room until we stay there. Ryan jolted up and gaped at him with wide eyes. You have 2 days. Sleep as much as you want because you won't be getting any after 2 days. He smirked when he saw her face turning scarlet. Or you don't want to sleep now. That's why you are clinging on me without any barrier. He whispered in her ear. Her eyes widened when realization washed over her. She quickly parted away from him and covered herself with a blanket. He chuckled and ruffled her hair. Sleep, my temptress. You need a good amount of rest to take what is waiting for you. She lay on the bed and covered herself with a blanket till her head. Excitement and nervousness filled inside her, thinking about the vacation. It was not like they hadn't been intimate before, but his words made her shy. Don't think too much. We will go everywhere you want, if we get time from each other, he said and stroked her head over the blanket. Within few minutes, she slipped into her dreamland. Meanwhile, Jimin revised his work from beginning. After witnessing the spark of excitement in his wife's eye, he was adamant on finishing his work really quick and took her to the much needed vacation that she deserved. Love doesn't mean you will always agree, see eye to eye, or never have an argument. It means, despite the bad days, you still can't see yourself without that person.